Today we're joined by two incredible guests. We have Johnny Nelson MBE, who's a WBO World Championship boxer, and Dr. Aziza Sesay, a GP and health practitioner. I'm super excited to have them today. We're going to be talking about early detection for cancer and how important that is for the Black community. I'm Marvin Harrison, and this is the Dope Black Dads podcast. I'm so glad to have you both here. Dr. Aziza, can I start with you? Can you tell us a little bit more about the campaign, just so everybody understands?
Of course. So this is a really important campaign. It's really close to my heart because I feel like it's going to save so many lives. The NHS basically are trying to get more and more people, if they're diagnosed with cancer, to be diagnosed early. And the reason being is that if we know that if you get diagnosed with cancer early, then treatment is more likely to be successful, less invasive, and curative. So what they want to do is make more people body aware and also aware of what we call red flag symptoms are. So those are symptoms that are often associated with cancer. So they're able to go and see their GP as soon as possible. Now I want to emphasize here that just because you have symptoms that may be associated with cancer, it doesn't automatically mean that you have it. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is encourage more and more people to come forward early so that if it does turn out to be cancer, which is rarely the case, that as I say, the treatment is more likely to be curative, less invasive, and successful.
So is the big message here just that early diagnosis is the best thing, is the most important thing?
Absolutely. I think what people don't realize is that anybody with a body is at risk of cancer. That is a fact. And it's not trying to
Mm.
scare anybody. But what we want is that if it does happen, which is not that common, or it's rarely the case in terms of the symptoms, because the symptoms can be quite similar to other conditions, then it's picked up early. So that's literally the key. Know that that's a risk that anybody can have, but also know that their lives can be saved if it's picked up early.
Wow. So, Johnny, what was your? I'm about to call you Sir Johnny. That's how I feel about you. It's a lot of pressure now. What was your story around cancer? Was it early detection? What happened for you?
Well, unfortunately, I've lost family members. My brother to stomach cancer. My father, who was buried on the 7th of January to stomach cancer. My stepdad, who
Wow.
died in January of prostate cancer. So
Mm,
it's just getting an understanding. With my stepdad, who brought me up, great man,
mm,
when he was diagnosed with it, he was 87, 86, 87. And he said to me, Johnny, look, we're all gonna die. It's how you gonna deal with this, how you gonna face this. He chose
mm,
not to have treatment, and he's an old school West Indian man. Lived on the hard
mm.
food, still living in this country, and we don't understand as
Uh,
black men, because our stats are so high for getting at least prostate cancer. The traditional diet, the traditional upbringing that we've lived on is actually not conducive to living in this country in regards to cancer. It's in my head. And so as we get older, we've just got to be mindful and be very vigilant in regards to how dangerous this can affect you. Now, my dad, it didn't just affect him; it affects everybody around us. So therefore, we've got to think about how it affects everybody.
Dr. Aziza, Johnny mentioned something there around sort of the Caribbean attitude towards treatment and things like that. What is the specific? Is there a specific Black community cancer relationship that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say this as a Black African woman surrounded by Black African people, but also as a Black GP who sees other Black patients. And the truth of the matter is, unfortunately, when you think about cancer, it's such a scary word. Nobody even wants to say it, Within our culture, it's like, don't speak it into existence. So there's not that conversation. And because we don't talk about it, there's little awareness, Everyone is scared and often they're embarrassed, or there's also loads of myths and misconceptions. Oh, I did something bad in my past life. therefore, I deserve this, or
Yeah.
if I tell people, it'll make it worse. If I take this treatment, it's actually going to be bad for me. There's so many myths, and that's why I'm really passionate about health awareness. But there's also the lack of awareness in general. So we talk about some of the symptoms associated with cancer, things like blood in your stools, blood in your urine, and if women, or if we talk about anyone with gynecological organs, we talk about bleeding after sex, bleeding after menopause. These are symptoms that people are often really shy and ashamed to talk about and embarrassed, and they don't come forward. So all these things
Can
play a
I,
part in why, yeah.
Yeah, go on,
okay, can
Johnny.
I
What's
just say
happening
in
for you,
black
Johnny?
men? I cannot say in black men. It's just the testing. The testing. It's the embarrassment of the. It's getting ahead out of our own self and saying, "Look, I've got to deal with this thing here. It's not ego. You've got to deal with it because even early checking, early diagnosis can make so much of a difference. But because of the process that you've got to go through, thinking I ain't having none of that. No. You can't tell people you don't want to discuss it. I've got a friendship group. We on our group and when my brother first passed away, we spoke about it. We spoke about it being tested.
Mm,
Nobody had spoke about it up to that point. And then slowly but surely, one came out and said, "Yeah, I got tested, and this is the process I had to go through. I was so embarrassed, blah blah blah. But I'm glad I did it." One of our friends, he had prostate cancer, and he came out and said, "Well, actually," and I'm like, Kevin, why didn't you just tell us, man? Why don't you just talk? Because if you talk, then everybody else will talk because you've been through it. I'm talking from a second-hand experience because of my brother. Now my father, and so Kevin. So it's getting people to talk. We need to understand the stigma that's attached to the embarrassment of what you have to go through. You've got to think, I'll take 5 years of it, 5 weeks or 5 minutes of embarrassment than a lifetime to live. And young men
mm,
have got to get their mind in the right place. They've got to talk to each other because symptoms, as the doctor suggested, symptoms. Remember singing "That's Just Me." We bury our head in the sand. We don't want to face it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to address it. We have to be courageous to say no. You know what? This is an adult conversation, an adult thing we've got to deal with correctly because we are the highest risk. Everything's not in our favor for this. So we've got to talk because
mm.
ego's only going to take you to the grave.
Johnny, just before that, you appear to get emotional. What was specifically happening for you? Because I think this is a part of the barrier, like us as men, is like just like you're clearly generating a feeling from what you're talking about. What was happening for you?
It's loss. It's having to deal with the realization of it. Cancer
Mm.
in any way, shape, or form. It's always happening to somebody else. When it, so when it's
I'm
somebody
really appreciating
close,
John.
carry on, man. Roll with it. When it's somebody close, the realization of how bad this is, we got to do the right thing. Look after ourselves.
Mm. Mm. Thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate it. I, I've yet to lose any of my family from many of these related causes. It's really big on my mind. We're getting to that age, like I just hit 40, so I'm getting to the age of like the people that raised me are getting to that time in life. And the work we're doing now is really about raising the alarm. So I really appreciate you both being here, especially Johnny for giving us your personal story, because I know sometimes it takes a moment like this that we're having right now to just turn the light on for somebody. And if we just catch a handful of people, I promise you it will reverberate because it's actually word of mouth in addition. So these moments and then what happens offline is really, really powerful. Then, as you said in your WhatsApp group, we discussed it. You discussed it for the first time. That's when the magic really kicks off, and these moments start the conversation, and then they go off. Dr. Aziza, could you share with us what some of the common causes are? Because I've heard it, like every food, according to TikTok, is trying to kill me. So if you could help me understand what the most common causes are and really narrow it down to some of the key focuses.
Of course, of course. I just want to say, Johnny, thank you so much for opening up and sharing everything that you
Right.
share. I know that's it's not easy to do, but thank you. You will save lives through the awareness that you're raising. Thank you so much. And I appreciate how hard this is. Um, in terms of what causes cancer, the truth of the matter is it varies. So this can be from lifestyle to what we're exposed environmentally, and it even goes down to genetics, right? I often say this all the time. There are 5 things that we could potentially do to reduce our risk of getting cancer. One being exercise. Unfortunately, we have now come from a community where we're barely even walking. So exercise is so important. The NHS says that you should do at least 150 minutes over the course of a week. So you could do 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week, and that's good enough, okay? Also, we need to eat more fruits and vegetables. How often are we having our fruits and vegetables? Have that in our diet.
Mm.
Maintaining a healthy weight is also key. And then alcohol. So depending on who you speak to, I personally don't drink alcohol at all, but some say don't drink at all, or just make sure that you reduce the amount that you're having. So the NHS says that you should have 14 units max a week, and that's spread over the week. Now, I'm not saying go on a binge and have 14 units over a weekend. It's spread over the week. And finally, smoking. Do not smoke. I implore you to stop. There's literally no benefit. So that's really the key. Try and be as healthy as you can and do those 5 things, and we can help to improve or reduce our chances of getting cancer. But ultimately, know what's normal for you. So I'm going to show this,
Mm.
which the reason I'm showing it on purpose. So do you guys know what this is?
I'm gonna say no, please.
Um, yeah,
What do you think it
I know what it's supposed to look
is?
like.
Yeah, so this is a vulva. There's a reason I'm always carrying around these different props, and I mean, you know what this is.
Yeah.
You can say it. It's not a bad word.
I was gonna nod.
Okay,
Thank you
so
so
this is
much
a
for
breast
saying
and this is a vulva. The reason I talk about these things, and again, I showcase it in brown skin. So you were
it.
talking about within our population, we have the worst odds. Partly it's because we don't even know that these cancers exist within our communities, because when we look at campaigns, we don't see ourselves in it. And if you don't see it, you can't be it. Representation matters. So it's important that we use these colors. But I also showcase these because I'm always encouraging people, everyone, to do their self checks. So that includes checking your vulva, checking your breast and your chest. As a man, you should check your chest as well, so you know what's normal for you. Check your testicles. Check inside your mouth. Are there any sores? Are there any ulcers? Is it persisting? Is it constantly there? Check your skin all over, your nails, and then the palms of your hands and the sole of your feet. You want to do these checks regularly. And the reason being is so you know what is normal for you. Check your poo. What does your poo look like? Is there any blood in your poo? Has it changed in color? Check your urine. Is there any blood in your urine? Notice what is normal for you and get accustomed to it. Because the moment that you notice even the slightest change and you get that checked, I'm not saying that it's going to be cancer, but the truth of the matter is, if it turns out to be the case and you get checked early, go see your doctor right away. Please don't put it off. The hope is that the
So,
treatment will be likely to be curative, successful, and less invasive. I cannot stress this enough.
so doctor,
Johnny,
when you're
what are you
saying
picking up
check
and
your
hearing,
hands,
sir? Mm.
yeah. Well, my question is, when you say check your hands, check up. What are we checking for? What are we looking for? Earlier on, you spoke about food. I know in every biblical book, fasting is. I fast a lot, and I think because I'm trying to stop this curse happening through the family. So I
Mm.
fast a lot because I think that helps me stave off the positive. And I might be wrong, I might be right. That works for me. Every biblical book it's in to fast. So one, what you're checking for. Two, does fasting, in your opinion, would fasting would contribute to avoiding cancer?
So, in terms of what you're looking for, I always say check what's normal for you. So, when you're looking, for instance, at your skin, you want to see are there any moles? Or if you've had a mole before, has it changed? Has it gotten bigger? Is it bleeding? Has it changed in size? Has it changed in shape? So on and so forth. Those are the things you look. Is there any areas of redness? Is there any areas of soreness? Is there an area of like an ulcer, like a wound that is just not healing? Those are things that you're
Mm.
looking out for. So if you're again examining your chest, are there any lumps? Are there any skin changes? Any in the nipples, are the nipples pulling inwards? And this is the same even for men, right? Or is there any blood coming out of the nipples? Now, when you're examining your testicles, you're feeling around, are there any lumps in it? Are there any areas of soreness? Is there any swelling, any bumps, any new changes within the area? The same with your penis. And then the vulva, the exact same things that I'm mentioning. So you're looking for any of these sort of changes. And even if you see something you think that wasn't there before, but it's not something that I've listed or mentioned, get it checked out just in case, because it's usually our body's way of warning us and telling us there's something not right. And hopefully you get seen, you get treated. Majority of the times, as I say, it's not cancer, but if it is, hopefully we pick it up early. In terms of fasting, I mean, it varies. So for some people, intermittent fasting, so this is where their fasting maybe they will only eat within certain hours of the day. Some people do midday till 6 p.m. Some people, I'm currently fasting. I'm Muslim, so it's Ramadan, and we fast during the holy month. It's like a cleanse. There is some evidence, I don't know the exact research, to show that it is helpful. For some people, it helps in terms of what they're eating overall. They change the pattern of how they're eating. They're eating more healthily. They're more aware of what they're eating as well. They're drinking more fluids, you know? Those all have a positive impact, and it can help with weight loss. But you don't want to, I've heard someone saying that they did intermittent fasting where they were only eating for 2 hours. That's not healthy. You want to make sure that you're having nutritious, balanced meals where you are eating regularly. And I mean, it's about avoiding the foods that actually within our community that we're eating more. And I don't mean as a Black community, I mean in general within our generation right now. The fast foods, the takeouts, you know, the fried foods, all of that. We want to limit the processed food, the processed meat, all of those you want to try and avoid and have like minimally, if you're going to have them at all.
Isn't it incredibly like frustrating that you're probably constantly being countered with misinformation on social media? Like I go on TikTok and I feel like I'm fat, too tall, too this, too that. I don't even feel like I'm worthy at the moment. It's just there's so much information. Like I'm not doing enough gym, too much gym.
Yeah.
I'm fasting enough, not enough. Isn't it really difficult to like how do you park the noise? Where do we go for sources of just like, right, this is what I should be doing?
I love this question. Thank you so much. And honestly, this is why me and a lot of other healthcare professionals are on social media, because the truth of the matter is a lot of people are now consuming their health information and trusting their health information through social media. And there's so many experts out there. They're experts either because they have a condition or maybe they're selling supplements that have cured them. But actually, there's not enough evidence to base that. What I would encourage you to do if you are going to get your information from social media, check the credentials of the person that you're obtaining the information from, okay? Where you're consuming the information from. You want to make sure, are they doctors? Are they practicing doctors? Also, do they have any quality marks associated with them? So I'm an ambassador for something called PIFTIC, which is like a quality mark for health information that's trustworthy, reliable, and accurate. Do they put any evidence associated with whatever it is that they're talking about? What papers, what research papers are associated with it? And you want to go for credible organizations. So obviously the NHS website has amazing information on there. Again, that's evidence-based. So, and also with YouTube have been really great in trying to ensure that there is credible health information out there. What they've done is they've gotten healthcare professionals who have license to apply for something called the health features. And this way you're put on a health shelf, which then every video that you have, it says that this is from a licensed professional. So I just say, be very careful whom you're consuming your information from, and do your due diligence, do your research as well to ensure that you're not being duped and you're not being exploited, and what you are consuming is accurate, scientific, and evidence-based.
Johnny, you're about 2-3 years older than me, and I know like our generation we have a thing about trust, right? Like, you grow up in Britain in the 70s and the 80s, and even the 90s and the 2000s, and you have a relationship with the country which is to ask questions because it's never fully worked for you in the way that you would like. What is your awareness of just like trust in sort of like it was obviously happening in your family? Like, how did you feel at each of those stages?
Yeah, there's many conspiracy theories in regards to the NHS's approach to cancer, and for some reason, they're going to say have chemotherapy, have radiotherapy, because somebody financially benefits that when individuals have it. So they're without, and these are conspiracy theories, and I've heard them all, coming left, right, and centre. And you just got to go to facts, go to the science, follow the science, follow the facts. When following the science and follow the facts, that can't lie. Science doesn't lie; it tells you how it is. And I'm quite sure, hopefully, inshallah, cancer will be something that can be treated to the point where it's not a death sentence for a certain majority of people. So unfortunately, we're hearing so many different. My father, he was old school. He was getting bush from Jamaica. He basically
Yeah.
said that'll stave off prostate cancer. All these
I really
different
wish
things.
I
You're
met
thinking,
him,
come
because
on, man.
that generation of man I miss so much. Like I've drunk that, and
Yeah.
it's intense.
Yeah, yeah. So I was saying, so when you're seeing this, you're thinking, yeah, I've got somebody from Jamaica who can hook me up with some bush tea, and you're like, come on, man, you've got it. But it's about mindset. Now we're in of a generation
Mm.
where we've got to follow the science, follow the facts, not follow the fiction. We've got to avoid putting ourselves in harm's way by doing all we possibly can, so we're not in that position until time has got to the point where that we can cure cancer. It's not a death sentence. We've got to take care of ourselves to make sure we do everything possible to take the weight off the NHF, to take the weight off the responsibility away from everybody else, to say, right then, I've got cancer, help me out, help me out. So unfortunately, I think we're growing out of it. We're probably the last of the generation that's still got that in our ear, get some bush tea. Our kids will say, no, dad, no, mom, we're going to follow the facts, but we're of that generation. Unfortunately, the stats that we're seeing today hits our generation.
Mm.
Unfortunately, the stats we're seeing today, we're still haunted by the conspiracy theories of for some reason, people benefiting from chemo and radiotherapy. Facts is what we need
Mm.
down.
I think
Facts and common sense and real life stories is what we need, where people can see. Like, well,
Mm.
I got upset about speaking about my dad, speaking about, but I want people to see. What look at what I do for a job. It breaks your heart. So what I'm saying is, this can happen to you, your neighbor, your father, your brother, your sister. So you've got to have a responsible attitude towards it, because if you bury your head in the sand, your heart will be breaking like mine is.
Powerful. Dr. Aziza, what are your thoughts? Because obviously,
yeah.
like, if we're going to break it down to intersection, allow me to get my extremist hat on. You have an accent from somewhere. I don't know where you're from. Why should I trust you? You're a
Yeah.
woman. You look
Yeah.
17. Why should I trust you? How do you build that trust with the public?
Oh, thank you so much. When they don't ask me for ID anymore, I get really upset. So I appreciate that. In terms of trust, that is so key. Particularly within our community, there is a lack of trust, and you cannot blame them. Systemic racism exists and it's real. And unfortunately, we have been through things through the past in terms of the unfair experimentation and without asking permission. And I don't go back to a lot of the history in terms of the mothers of gynecology, a lot of beliefs that healthcare professionals have for Black people in terms of us not being able to experience pain and so on and so forth. And the truth of the matter is there are many Black individuals who have been dismissed by their healthcare professionals. And this is where trust becomes an issue. But the truth of the matter is change happens at the speed of trust. And it is helpful to have people who look like you. That helps to build that trust as well, right? So I've experienced it where patients have come in maybe about something else. And then because we built that rapport and they felt like, okay, actually, I can open up to this person. I feel like I can trust this person. They talk about something that they've had for several years. They get checked out and then they get diagnosed.
Mm.
So what's really key, as Johnny mentioned, is trust, having the credible facts there. And I know that you said, Johnny, that actually that generation is going. I almost feel like we're going a little bit backwards, if I'm completely honest, because there are still some people who truly believe in these conspiracies and don't want to take medications because of things that they've heard in the past. And again, because of this lack of trust. So this is where, again, if we share the information, if we share the facts and we provide the evidence, we can potentially save lives. And if it's just one person listening to this who then goes to their doctor to get checked out, then I believe that we've made such a massive difference, and we just need to keep the conversations going.
So if I'm concerned about somebody, a loved one, myself, and I'm trying to get them to go to the GP, trying to get them into that first step, what are some of the things that I should do? John, if you've got any stories of what you observed or experienced with your family, that would be also great as well.
So I would personally say
Well,
that the first
yeah,
step is having that conversation. Right? Let's open it up. Let's remove the shame, the stigma, and embarrassment and the taboo that's associated with this topic and just talk about it. And it always usually takes one person to share their experience. Oh, for instance, if we talk about cervical screening. Oh, I went for my cervical screening and someone's like, oh, I didn't want to go because, I heard that it's painful. I heard that they take our cells. But then you have the conversation and you share the realities, you share the video, you share what happens exactly. And then they end up going. So until we have these open and honest conversations and we bring everyone into the room, things will not change. I really, really want to quickly, if it's okay, before you get on with what helps in terms of you, Johnny. I want to really quickly talk about the symptoms that everyone should look out for. These are what we are usually talking about. So the signs and symptoms include if you've had unexplained lump anywhere in the body, if you've noticed any blood in your urine, even just one time, if you notice blood in your stools. Okay, blood from your back passage, from your bottom. If you notice any bleeding after menopause, bleeding after sex, bleeding in between periods. And then if you notice any of these symptoms that I'm going to mention now that last 3 weeks or more. So this could be a cough or a change in any of the existing cough that you've had for a long time. If you have a sore or an ulcer in your mouth that is not healing, it's not going away. If you're having tummy troubles, so this could be discomfort, persistent diarrhea, or bloating that isn't coming or going, then you need to get these checked out. And I know that some of these symptoms you'd be like, but these don't sound like that big a deal. Yes, they can be associated with very common, simple conditions that are not cancer. However, I can keep stressing the same thing, that if it does turn out to be cancer and you go and get checked early, please don't carry the weight of worry. Your GP will refer you. It doesn't mean that you have cancer, but if you get checked out and it does turn out to be the case, then you were picked up early where treatment is more likely to be curative and your life could literally be saved.
Johnny, what was some of
so
the
I'd actually,
experiences of animal protection? Yeah, sorry, Manji.
yeah, it's a bit okay. We're going to get a bit graphic here. So before I was tested for prostate cancer, my friend had been previously, but he never told me the procedure at all. And through ignorance, whatever, and I'm quite sure I wasn't the only one amongst my friendship group. The reality of what the procedure is, uh, you don't know, and then when you know it's happened, you think, "Oh my God, I can't tell anybody about this." So let's put our cards on the table. So when I went through the procedure, I went down actually to check my shoulder, and to the GP, and he said, "Have you been tested? Have you been checked for your prostate?" I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Do you want me to put you in?" So I'm thinking, I ain't going to do it, but I'll just tell him, yeah, I'd make an appointment, not turn up. And I said, "Yeah, all right." He said, "I'll tell you what, we'll do it now." I'm like, "Oh my God, what I just signed up for?" Because remember, I don't know what process we're dealing with here. And next minute, he had to check my prostate through my back passage. Now, as I'm laid, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, why didn't my friend tell me this? Why didn't he tell me this what it was about?" And then when I came out, and I'm in the car, I phoned my friend. I went, "Yo, I've just been checked for my prostate." And he started laughing his head off in the car. He said, "I knew if I told you what was happening, you wouldn't have done it." And this, I said, "Why don't you just tell me, man? Why don't you just tell me?" Because, and obviously, and so once you know, so you hear all these scary stories about about how you feel, or what you've got to go through. And then there was a year later, I went to a place called the Cannon Medical Centre in Sheffield. They have like an MRI scanning machine, and I checked it that way. That was a private centre. And so I told the boys, there are various ways to get these checked. But either way, it doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't make you less of a being. There's no more shame on you than anybody else that's got to go through this thing. But until we have a conversation and I put it on the table, like I've just said, I'm telling you that happened to me. I had to go through that. My friend told me, but he only told me after I'd been through it. So once the group has started, and I'm saying, "Boys, listen, we've got to get this checked out. Forget about the stigma attached to it. Because if we hold on to the stigma, we are going to drop off one at a time." And we're going to see people who we love drop off one at a time. So it's actually talking through it, blow by blow, you have to go through, and then dealing with the feeling of it afterwards. And that's an important thing.
So Dr. Aziza, we take the testimony of what Johnny's just explained. Then we go to our GP. But then what happens if they refer us for tests? Because I think what we're really just talking about is just the height of fear. And it's like, all right, you've got me in the door, but now I have to go do tests. What is that? How many knives, needles, and headlocks is that going to be?
Yeah, no, I think that's probably one of the scariest part. The truth of the matter is the fear of the unknown. Everyone always thinks of the worst, and often people always share terrible experiences. Nobody really shares their pleasant experiences. Oh, this happened and actually was okay. But if we refer you for tests, first of all, just to reassure anyone listening to this who may have been referred for tests, it doesn't mean that you have cancer, okay? We're just checking to exclude that as a potential cause. Now, it really depends on what it is that we're looking for. So, for instance, if you've had a cough and you're bringing up blood in your cough, one of the first things that we do after examining you is refer you for a chest x-ray, right? And then we'll refer you to the specialist who then will decide on what sort of imaging it would be necessary and whether or not they may need to do a biopsy. So imaging could include what's called a CT scan. So basically, you're just going to a scanner that looks like a donut. They have a look to see if there's anything in the lungs. And then they may do, as I say, other potential tests. Now, if you have a lump, for instance, on the breast or on your chest, you would be referred to a breast specialist, and they then again may do imaging. So that could include a mammogram, which is where they do imaging of the breast. They may do an ultrasound scan. So that's similar to the scan that we do for pregnant women when they have babies. Or they may do what's called like a needle biopsy. They may take a needle and pop it in the breast to take a bit of a sample of the lump. So as I say, it really depends on what it is, what symptoms it is that you have. If you notice blood in your urine, they may then refer you to have bloods done, including a PSA, which is a prostate-specific antigen, because usually that can be associated with issues with the prostate. And then they may refer you again to a specialist who will either do imaging, which could include a cystoscopy. That's where they have a look at the bladder. They put a tube through the penis, and then they have a look inside the bladder, see what's happening. Or they may do, again, an ultrasound scan. So it really does vary. But what I would implore you to do, if you don't know, please ask us, okay?
Yeah.
That is your right. If you don't understand what your GP is saying, ask your GP. You have every right to ask them. They have to tell you and explain to you what's going on. And at the same time, you have every right when you're having the test just to ask them to pause. If you're having any discomfort or if you're finding it difficult, you can ask them to pause or you can ask them to stop and you can get it done at another time if necessary. But what I want to emphasize here is that you are in control. It is your body. So you have to understand what's going on, why certain tests are being done, and then what to expect afterwards as well. And if you're never sure, always ask.
I have an assignment for you both. Okay. I am your brother, your favorite brother, both of you. Okay. What message would you give to me as someone who is afraid to go to the GP about a potential cancer symptom? Like, what message would you give? I want you to give it to me, and then it's going to go over my head into the universe. But I'm the focal point of the energy. We've fallen in love in the last 34 minutes, and I feel the bond.
Can I
What
go
would you
first,
say?
Doc? Can I go first, Doc? Well, if you're my
Of
little
course.
brother, my little favorite brother, I'd say I'm coming with you. I'd want you to come with me, and we go
Oh,
together, and then we do it
Johnny, that
together.
touched
So
me,
if I'm
mate.
going to do it, you're going to do it. And so for you, you're thinking, well, you know what? One, it takes away the embarrassment because you're not the only one that's going to get embarrassed. Two, it takes away the the chances of you backing out before you get to the doctor's surgery. And three, I make sure you get inside that doctor's surgery and get checked. That's how I would do it. So people that are out there and they've got someone that's in that position, go with them. Go with them. Give them encouragement because once they've gone through that door, you could be saving their life.
You just touched me, you know. That genuinely. I was thinking you was gonna go big, like presidential. We all got to do it, and he was like, "I'm gonna come with you," and oh, I just remember. I remembered it was an assignment. I forgot. Thank you so much. That was very beautiful, Dr. Aziza, my sister.
Okay. I mean, I can't beat that, but I will say I don't have brothers. You are now my honorary brother.
Oh, I love
What I
that.
would say to you, first of all, Marvin, is it's okay to be scared. You are human. That is a normal emotion. But please come to see me as a GP. Go and see your GP. I promise you, all we want is to make sure that you're healthy, and we want to pick things up early so that we can prevent the terrible statistics that we face as Black people when it comes to any cancer. You going to see your doctor. And usually, as Johnny mentioned, once it's done, it's done. You
Mm.
do not need to keep carrying that weight of worry constantly. It's going to be in the back of your mind. Oh my God, I have this. Oh my God, it could be cancer. Oh my God, I'm scared to go. And it's just a vicious circle, right?
Mm.
And I'm going to say this I know may sound scary, but this is the reality. And I think this is why some people don't come forward. I know that you have kids, Marvin, and I know that you want to see your kids through to the future.
Mm.
So let's go and get checked out. And if it does turn out to be cancer, hopefully it's picked up early and you're cured and you get to watch your kids grow up.
Mm.
I kind of
Oh, you got me with
normalised
my
it with
kids,
my
though.
friend. My
Mm.
friend Tony. I'll watch this. Oh, damn it, Johnny! And he had to go for a check. Um, um, uh, what's it called? They won't let him know for another 5 to 6 weeks. A biopsy.
Mm.
He's had to go for a biopsy to the hospital, and he phoned me up. And he told me. I said, and I know what he's like. He's a guy that keeps kicking the can down the road. So I said, "Come on, we'll go down together," and we went down together. And I went to the hospital with him only because I knew that. And when he came out, he is. I could see his face is kind of stressed. He told me what he had to go through in there, and I said, "Tony, look, you've just got married. You've got to, you want to take care of yourself. You haven't done anything wrong. I'd hate to have to do that, but I would do it." But I made
Mm.
sure I walked into the hospital with him. So now he's waiting. He's waiting to see what the situation will be. But God willing, it's just a check because he's turned 60 now. But it's something that has to be done. So words are great, but physically you've got to say, come,
Mm.
we're going down there. And that way it's just the
Mm.
reality. The action makes all the difference.
And don't be afraid to ask for someone to go with you. Obviously,
Mhm.
I know Johnny said,
Mm.
"Oh, let's go." But if you're scared, take your wife, take your partner, take your brother, ask someone, tell them the truth about how you're feeling, and
Mm.
then go with them. Because actually, when I find that when you go with someone else, they'll be your listening ear, and they will also be able to advocate for you. They'll be able to share things that maybe you wouldn't. I know if you go with your wife will be like, "No, actually, this has been going on for 6 months. I've been telling him to come," so on and so forth, bringing up symptoms that you may forget to say yourself. And it can be really overwhelming. So they can be the
Yeah.
support for you.
There's something just about like less care in the world than maybe it's just my observation, but I think people don't really know how to show up for people. They haven't really been taught. Like I know my family grew up with sort of geographical community. Everyone kind of lived in Hackney, so we just had the Hackney, and everyone was 5 minutes, 10 minutes walk away. So a lot of that stuff just happened because of proximity. I was thinking about it the other day. I have a friend. My three closest friends are in Bromley, Canada Water, Ladbroke Grove, like Hertfordshire. It's like if I needed any of them to do that, it's bigger. It's not saying it's impossible, but there's so much of us just being fragmented a bit all over the place, and also just the culture of everyone's just overwhelmed with probably cost of living and just getting by. I think some of those
Mm.
things are really difficult and big for people. So I do think what you're saying is really pushing people to just say it anyway. Like you really do have to raise the alarm, because if you are waiting for everybody else to just show up for you in this sort of magical realm of like it just doesn't seem to be happening.
Mm.
And I can't explain how important advocating for people to use their voice in that way and tell people around them that they need them. Like it's just sort of language we don't really use in this modern era. I need you.
But yeah, we all think everybody else has got it together, or we all think, it's just happening to us, or that negativity, or that ignorance is just us, and we're all in the same position. Unfortunately, people turn up to express how much they care about you, how much they love you when you're dead. So in reality, the easiest thing is, you've got to speak. You got to speak this. Not it doesn't make you vulnerable. It doesn't make you less of a being. In this life, we're too distracted by life's distractions rather than actually dealing with the important things. We go to work, we have families, we have things that go on, but dealing with the important things that make us tick through life, just having the conversation. Once it's come out, once you've done it once, you're thinking, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Just and it's like hugging your kids, giving your kids a kiss, or vice versa, doing these things because you're going to make them be like that with their people, you know. And it's just creating habits where people feel comfortable to speak, but we're too quick to probably try and make joke on each other. And it's a joke, but in reality, you know, sometimes you've got to think, right, let's be serious here.
Is there anything else that either of you think people really, really need to know and need to bring home? I think we've given such a really good account of the situation and culturally why it's happening, what the truth is, how we build trust. Is there anything you really just want to bring home to anybody
Yeah.
that's super
Well,
important for
for
them to
me,
know?
what I would say is if you've heard anything today that's impacted you or anything that's made you think, oh, actually, maybe I need to go get checked out, please go get checked out. But
Mm,
also, if it pertains to someone that you love or someone that you know, or you just learned something today, I want you to please go and share it with someone else who hopefully will share it with another person, who will share with another person. And then we create this ripple wave effect of knowledge that could actually save lives. So that's my mission for anybody watching this today. And also don't underestimate how basic something might sound, but
mm,
actually it could be something that someone's never heard of. Because I always say this, you don't know what you don't know. So
mm.
keep pushing that information. You'd be surprised how it could potentially save someone's life.
And maybe
Johnny?
I'd say, you know, this is real, and just because it happens to everybody else, or it may happen it's not happening to you. The realization, the understanding, and the importance of it doesn't hit you. And I was like that. I was that person, and so when it hits you, you think, you know what, life could have been so different for my brother. You know, for you know, my own man, if he decided to, you know, I'm going to go down and get things done right. And but we don't know how life can be. We have a chance. We have understanding. We have knowledge. We have the internet. We have people that are talking now. We have things at our hands. It's us that are holding us back. We are holding ourselves back. And when it becomes real, you think, I should have. I should have. I wish I did. I wish I'd have that. And you don't want to be in a position of regret. You want to have done everything possible to take care of yourself.
Ooh, one more quick thing. Actually, that's
Yeah,
really
yeah, sure.
powerful. Don't forget to keep advocating for yourself. I said that some people have had experiences where they've been dismissed by their doctors or they're told that their symptoms isn't anything sinister. If nobody knows your body better than you, if
Mm,
you think something is wrong, please go and seek a second opinion or a third or a fourth. Please, because that could be the difference between life and death. And within our community, this has been a story that's gone on. You don't want to be diagnosed late. So if you think something is wrong and you don't feel like you're being taken seriously, please seek a second or a third or a fourth opinion. Just keep pushing. Do not give up.
mm. Can I just say to you both, firstly, Dr. Aziza, thank you so much. I think we've had a few conversations over the year, and every time I feel a little bit safer in the world knowing that you're doing the great work and keeping us all healthy and safe. I think a lot of it is psychological as well. There's something just about a calmingness about how information is presented, which
Mhm.
makes it significantly easier to absorb. And I really do feel like anybody listening to this today will leave with a bit of a pep in their step, a little bit more confidence, a little bit more information. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Johnny Nelson, I've heard millions of great things about you a million times from lots of different people that we mutually know. And to experience you today was definitely one of my highlights, one of my favorite people to speak to. I wish it was under a better topic than this. I'm sure this is a very great topic, actually. I wish it was a happier topic. But I think you don't understand that what your honesty does for other people, especially men. we just have a thing in us that doesn't allow us to be vulnerable. And I always advocate that I have to walk and chew gum. I am vulnerable and powerful, and I do them at the same time. And I think a perfect exhibition of that was you today. Gave so much information, but you was also so curious that you actually brought up things that I wasn't even thinking of, added so much to it. So I just wanted to say personally, I really, really appreciate you. Thank you both for being here. This is hopefully going to hit the hearts and heads of many, many people, and we're able to actually move forward and get more people investigating with their GP. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you.